Hey everybody, welcome back. I apologize for my 5-week hiatus from taking and doing videos. Unfortunately, we live in Southwest Florida, Lee County specifically, the Fort Myers area. And if you haven't been living under a rock, you know that we were hit with one of the biggest hurricanes ever to hit the United States. Kind of wiped out a lot of the area, destroyed so many people's homes and lives. There's a ton of businesses that are basically destroyed, a lot of people unemployed. So many people are homeless, not to mention the people who unfortunately passed from the storm. So as we make our way surviving through it with minimal damage, one of the things that we discovered was just about every single home in Lee County as well as Charlotte County was affected by this hurricane, especially in Lee County, and places that a lot of tourists come to visit, Fort Myers Beach, Sanibel Island, pretty much wiped out. So prayers for all those people who live over there, work over there, that everything gets back to normal soon. We're all affected down here. It's been a hell of a nightmare. So anyway, back to work. So I received a message from somebody about a little over a month ago who wanted to know how to make this ring. And I apologize for getting to it so late. Unfortunately, I have been busy with other things that are much more important. So I'm going to cover that design today, and we're going to show you how to make this. This is a pretty simple design. I think just about every manufacturer makes a ring like this, but I want to show you how to CAD this out using Blender, and then what you need to be aware of as far as 3D printing precautions and how to make this look just like we have here. Okay, so let's take a look at this ring. We have a simple band with what looks to be maybe a 1/2 carat diamond in the center. We have some tapered diamonds on the left and right side. So these look like they are graduated. We have a larger diamond here than is the last one over here. I imagine it's symmetric on the other side, judging by this picture or this part of the photo here. Got somewhat of a basket head. It's not quite a full basket, and that is attached to the ring. So let's take a look at what we're going to do here to make this. Not a very complicated item. I'm going to move this off screen, and I'm going to guess that judging by this photo, this is probably a standard size 6 or 6.5. So I'm going to design this around approximately a 17 millimeter finger size, which would be about a 6.5 finger size. And I'm going to start with a circle. We're going to move this diamond out. We're going to size this to about 4.5 millimeters. So I'm going to hit S and then size down until I see 4.5 millimeters, about like so. Good enough for government work. We're going to take this diamond and just pull it up. Right now, we don't need it. I'm going to hit Shift A, and I'm going to add in a curved circle. I'm going to hit rotate that on the x-axis, RX90, and then we're going to size this up to 17 millimeters. So you can see right here, this is the size we're shooting for, and I can come over here and just type in 17 millimeters, just like so. Okay, now that the curve's in place, I'm going to come over here and adjust the resolution up to 64, and that's in the Curves Property tab. Just so you can see that, I'll make that a little bit bigger so you can see what's going on there. And here is our finger size of about 6.5-ish, whatever we've got cooking there. And we're going to leave that at that. Now what I want to do is I want to add in a shank to this. And you can tell by the shank here, I'm working with a tapered or a shouldered band. There's a couple ways to accomplish this. I think for the most part, I think how I want to handle this is to actually draw out a cube in the shape of the shank, and I'm going to actually make it about half of the shank. So we're going to come down about half of the ring shank and design something for that. To do that, what I want to do is come over here, hit Shift A, we're going to add in a mesh and then a cube. And we know this cube's about 2 millimeters by 2 millimeters because it says so right on our tab here. And we are going to draw that out or size it along the x-axis about like so. So that represents approximately half of the ring shank. Now what I want to do here is just to take this, go into edit mode. I'm going to press Control R so I can add in a bunch of loop cuts, and I'm going to add in 100 loop cuts. Press enter twice and make those permanent. We'll go back into object mode, and now you can see we've got this ring shank that I'm looking at that I like, and we're going to size this SZ and make it just a little thinner, about like so. I'm going to go back into edit mode. I'm going to grab this face here in face mode. Let's just zoom in right there. I'm going to grab that face, make sure that I'm in perspective mode right here, perspective sizing, and then I'm going to hit S and then Z, and I'm going to size that S and then Z, and we're going to size that along the z-axis. And what I want to do is kind of create that shoulder that I had in the original design. So I'm going to do about like that. And if all goes well, I'm going to bring this down a little bit. We'll look at this from a side view. And that looks pretty good. I've got a nice flat line here, and then you can see the shoulder that we have for that ring right at that point there. Okay, I'm going to go back into object mode, and now I'm going to apply a curve modifier to this, and we're going to bend it around the perimeter of our circle. Now, curve represents the finger size, so let's grab this. Let's come over to the modifiers tab. Let's add a modifier. We're going to add in a curve modifier. For the curve, I'm going to come over here. I can use this little pen and select the curve, or I can use the curve from the drop-down list and just grab which one I want. So here you can see it's rotated here, and what I want to do is I want to bring it up to about like so. Now we also want it offset so that it fingers, or it's approximately conformed to the perimeter of our ring. Now you can see in this case, I'm going to rotate this along the x-axis RX 180. And that should give us a little bit more look on our curve right about like so. I'm going to hit SX, and I'm just going to size that down. We're going to move that over until it's approximately like this. Okay, so now if we bring that diamond that we had, let's bring that down and put that there. You can see what I'm trying to do is accomplish something so that I'm mimicking the style of that band. Let's go back to preview and take a look at that. So you can see here I've got the diamond here on top, probably a little bit on the small side. If we want to SX, I can make that a little bit smaller, just kind of move it over however you want to play with it, and keep that diamond right about like so. And again, we'll take a look at the original drawings, and what I'm trying to do is just mimic this shoulder right here. So far, so good. Not done yet because I'm only working with half of this ring so far. So to make this a little bit better, we're going to hit, we're going to go into edit mode. And if you can see, if I go into edit mode, it flattens out the ring shank. So there's a little trick to this. If you want to work on your model with the modifiers included, just come over here and turn on these two little tabs like that. When I go into edit mode now, you can see my model stays approximately where it's supposed to be. And I'll come down here, I'll press Control R, and we're going to add in one loop in the middle of that piece, just like so. And then I'm going to grab this edge right here, and we're going to move it out. So I can just move that out. And we are in perspective mode. We don't want to do that. So I'm just going to bend that out like so. That gives us the little point that we had in our original model. Okay, so far so good. Let's go back into object mode. You can see basically what I've done is kind of just made that little tick right there, and that so far works good. And the next step I want to do is put the diamonds in the perimeter or around the sides of this. To do this, I'm going to hit, and you can see because I'm working with meshes, I'm working with destructive modeling. This is not non-destructive modeling, so just bear with me on that. It just is what it is. And I'm going to press Control A to apply the rotation and scale of our half shank. And I've got this curve, and I don't know if I'm going to use this diamond path curve yet because I'm kind of thinking I might not have to. Irregardless, we're just going to leave it there and work with it later. So now we know we've got some diamonds that are going to be on the side, and we know those diamonds are going to be tapered, probably from like a 2mm diamond to down to maybe a 1mm diamond, 5 of those. So maybe we'll go from 2.0 to 1.8 to 1.6 and so on, and graduate those diamonds down. To do that, what I'm going to do is I'm going to add in a new diamond. So I'm going to come over to the Jewel Craft tool, and remember I'm using the Jewel Craft tool. I've got some links to videos in the description below where you can get those. Let's come over to Add Gem. We're going to add in a 2mm diamond, and there it is. I'm going to grab this, just kind of move it over here so it's along the outside of our shank. Now I can just kind of drag this over if I want to. I can come over here, look at the side view, and then to get to the side view, you're just going to press the X, Y, or Z here. Top view, side, front, however you've got that done. And if I press G, I can kind of move that over here. I can rotate that along the Y-axis and just kind of place it somewhere that I want it, just like so. And that's probably the easiest way to do that. You can get more complicated. It looks like 2mm is going to be a little bit wide for this, so let's come over to here to Item tab. Let's take a look at this diamond here. We're going to reduce that down. I'm just going to size it down to 1.6, probably a little bit bigger, but good enough for what we're doing right now. Now we want to add in another one. So I'm going to hit Shift D and then press Enter. And I've got a duplicate of my diamond, so I'm going to move that over just like so. We're going to bring that down. I'm going to rotate that on the Y-axis just like so. And again, I'm going to zoom in here. G, R. Then we're going to do that, Shift D and then G, and I'm going to move that down here. R, G, and you can see I'm just kind of getting it kind of flush with that. Now, these diamonds are graduated, so we've got a 1.6 millimeter diamond here. I'm going to drop this down to maybe 1.4 by 1.4 by 1. And let's see, we're going to do maybe 1.3, 1.3, 0.9. And I'm just going to move this over just about like so. I'm going to get these diamonds a little bit closer to each other. So far, so good. And again, we'll come into the side view, Shift D and then G, and then I'm going to move that over here. RY, just going to bring that over and bring that in like so. We're going to size that down. Okay, and then Shift D and then G, and I'll bring this over here. And we're going to size that down to about 1 millimeter. And I'm going to rotate that on the Y-axis just like that, G, and gives me a place just like so. Okay. Now, I've got these kind of lined up where I want them. They're probably not perfect. We can probably just kind of move them over a little bit and get them a little bit spaced more evenly. I think that looks pretty good. And there's a couple considerations to think about here. In the image that we have in our ring, it's very difficult to see, but it looks like they are recessed somewhat. So there must be kind of a recess in this shank. It doesn't look like it's channel set, but it does look like it's recessed. So I'm going to come over here, press Tab, and I'm just going to grab this to Alt and grab this perimeter here. And if I hit proportional editing and then S and then Y, I can make this whole piece just a little bit wider. Gives me a good frame just like so. Okay, that's done. I'm going to come back into edit mode and I'm going to hit 3 for my face select. And now what I'm going to do, I'm going to hit C on my keyboard and I'm going to select all the faces that are underneath the diamonds, just like so. Okay, it gives me all of those. And let's zoom into the top of this so we can see it. And what I'm going to do is press I to inset these faces. I inset, and you can see it just insets the faces just ever so slightly. And then I'm going to hit extrude, extrude, and then ZZ. And I'm going to bring that in and down a little bit. And that gives us somewhat of an inset into our ring. Okay, let's go back into object mode. And then we're going to come over here. And I'm going to adjust these diamonds one more time. I'm going to come over to invisible mode so we can see this lower part here is the bottom of the inset. So I'm going to take this and then hit G and just bring that down to that line there. We're going to keep doing that for each of these diamonds. And again for this last one, just like so. Okay. Let's go back into solid mode and let's take a look at this ring. And I'm kind of digging the way that looks. Okay, so the next thing I want to do is I want to take and inset the bottom of our ring so that we have an opening. And that opening, if we look at our preview picture, you can see right here, this is the opening underneath the shank. And we want to inset that a little bit so that we have a little bit of lightness in the ring shank. Also, it allows us to have a place for the diamonds to show through on the bottom. Okay, so to do this, not just to lighten it up, we're actually going to apply that curve modifier. So I'm going to apply that. Then I'm going to come over here. I'm going to hit Shift or Origin. I'm going to hit Center of Surface just so that we're on the center of surface here. And I'm going to press Control A to adjust the rotation and scale of this particular piece. Now remember, we're only working with half the ring. Don't fret. We're going to get to the whole ring in just a minute. Since it's symmetric, I can work on half. We're going to go back into edit mode. going to press A twice just to make sure that nothing is selected. Using the C key on my keyboard, I'm going to C-select all of these faces here, just like are selected or hollowed out on the inside of our ring. I'm going to right-click on that, leaving those faces there. We're going to press I to inset. I'm going to inset those faces about like so. And again, I think this time what I'm going to do is come over to Local, see if that works, and we're going to hit Extrude and then ZZ, and I'm going to bring these up and into our ring shank. And if we go into invisible mode, you can see what I'm doing is I'm raising that floor up ever so slightly. Oops. We don't need that. We just need to bring that up and over just a little bit, just like so. I'm going to go back into object mode. Let's turn off invisible mode. And you can see now I've opened up the bottom of that underneath the stones. That's about what I want to be done. And I think we're going to move on to the next step, which is to do the cutters for these particular stones. So I'm going to select each of these stones. I'm going to select the first diamond, hold the shift key down, select each of the other 4 diamonds. With that done, I'm going to come over to our jewel craft tool and I'm going to press cutters. And that's going to add the appropriate size cutter for those diamonds. With that done now, I can come over here. I can select each of these 5 cutters using the shift key. And then the last one I'm going to select is the ring shank. I'm going to select that, come down to destructive Boolean differences, and we're going to remove those cutters from the ring. And you can see now we've got holes underneath our shank that represent the openings where the diamonds can get some light through. Okay, that's done here. And we also have to deal with the fact that these are prong set or bead set in here. So I'm going to grab these diamonds one more time, just like so. We're going to come over to prongs, and under the prongs tab for jewel craft, I'm going to increase those to 4. We're going to bring these to 45 for the position. I'm going to make those a little bit smaller because they are a little bit smaller, just like so. And we're going to make them a little bit shorter just so that they're beaded on top, just like that. Now, when you are designing a piece of jewelry that's going to be 3D printed, always remember one thing. You're going to have to deal with the fact that you're going to need some bead work or prong work, and it needs to be a little bit bigger than your design's final appearance. The reason being is that you want to adjust or leave a bit of beef there for you to set your stone and cut those beads into, or those prongs. So don't get carried away just trying to make it look perfect the way it's going to look like when it's finished, because you can use a cut burr and cut those down anytime you want. Okay, so I've got this ring shank pretty much done on the side. So far so good. Let's take these, and we're going to take each of these prongs that are attached to this diamond ring. I'm going to select those. I'm going to select the ring shank and then do a union. So now I've joined those pieces together. So now that this ring shank is all one piece, and you can see it's all cut out. So far so good. Now we want to do is we want to mirror this on the other side. So to do that, I'm just going to grab all of these items except for the circle, and we're going to do mirror and then mirror X. And now you can see I've got a ring that is symmetric on both sides with the diamonds. So far so good, but we still need to get this bridge over here. So how do we do that? Very, very simple. And don't worry about this little gap. We're going to cover that in just a minute. Okay, so to get this little bridge from one side to the other, simple little thing, we're going to add in a cube, Shift A, mesh cube. And I'm going to size that down, S, and size it down. We're going to SX and SY, make that a little wider. And I know you can't see it in here, but I'm going to zoom in so you can see it. And why are we upside down? Command Z, there we go. SY, let's make that wider. Okay, so I'm going to do the same thing we did with the original shank. I'm going to edit mode. I'm going to hit Control R. Control R. We're going to add in a bunch of loop cuts there. Press the left mouse button a couple times to apply that. And then we're going to add in a curve modifier to this. So we're going to come down here to curve modifier, select the same curve that we used for our ring shank. You can see there it is. And I'm just going to bring that over here just like so. And it's a little too wide, so we're going to narrow that down, SY. And we're going to get that to about like so. Good. And we're going to bring this up to adjust the position of our line right there. So there's our bridge. I think that's a pretty good location for it. Doesn't look like it's cutting into anything. Let's just take a quick gander. No, it's not really cutting into anything. If we wanted to make it a little shorter, we can. SX, and I can just kind of bring that down just to about like so. That's also giving us a little beef to the bottom of the ring. So I'm going to leave it like that and apply it. So I've applied that curve modifier. Now I'm going to take these 2 pieces and the 2 ring shanks. We're going to join those together with the union tool. unionize them. So now it's just one model, and you can see here if we go into edit mode, select all, you can see there is our model. Now the diamonds are not attached, so we're going to go back here. Let's take a look at what we have left to do. We have to do this little bridge at the bottom. Unfortunately, oops, let's get over here. This part of the ring, and I'm just going to put the assign to center of surface. Okay, so far so good. Now we got this little bridge at the bottom. If we go into edit mode, I've got this face here. Let's grab it. Zoom in. Grab this face here and this face there. I'm going to grab this face here and this face there, and we're going to bridge them. So I'm going to come over to faces, and there should be a bridge tool here, edge. Oh, where the hell is it? Bridge. Faces. Poke, poke, poke. Edges. Bridge edges. And I'm going to grab, let's see, that one. And that one, edge, that's a bevel. We want a bridge. There we go. Right there. Let's grab this. And grab this. And we're going to bridge that face. Bridge. Edge loops. Okay, so there is our solid ring shank. So far, so good. Go back into object mode. Okay, so we're almost done with this. We have to deal with this diamond here. We don't have the particular head made for the diamond, and you can see if we go back and look at our preview model here, it's not that complicated. It looks like we have some kind of an opening with 4 prongs, not too complicated to make. So I'm actually going to make this head using this diamond. We're gonna hit the slash key, and we're going to isolate this diamond right here. Now that diamond is isolated, what I want to do here is make the head for it. That's a very simple small basket head, and it doesn't take much complication to make it. The first thing we're going to do is get Shift A, and we're going to add in a cylinder, and I'm just going to give this cylinder 84 cuts just because it makes it look a little better. And where is it? It's right over here. We're going to bring that up right to about here. I'm going to hit S, Shift Z, so I'm sizing it along the X and Y axis only. I'm going to make it about the size of the perimeter of the diamond. Now it's a little too tall, so we're going to make that smaller along the Z axis, and again SZ, I just want to make it a little bit smaller, just like so. Okay, that looks pretty good to me. All right. S Shift Z, and just make that a little tiny teeny bigger. Okay, so far so good. There's our basket head. It's not quite complete yet. Okay, with that done, we need to add the 4 prongs that hold it, and the fact that they bend in is not a very complicated thing to deal with. We're just going to work with one right now, and then we are going to modify that along the perimeter of the shank here. So what I want to do is now go back and add in, Shift A, a new mesh, and we're going to do a new mesh cylinder, just like so. I'm going to bring that up here over that. We're going to hit S, Shift Z, and I'm going to make this a little narrower. I'm going to come over here and press Control A and apply the rotation and scale. Go into edit mode, grab the surface, go into edit mode, select this face and do Control B. Or is it Control B? And I'm going to bring that down and just bevel that edge so that it looks nice and rounded, just like so. Okay, with that done now, let's kind of bring this up. Let's go back into edit mode. I'm going to grab this face here, and I'm going to bring that down just like so. And again, let's just take a look at this here. We've got this right here. Press Control R, and I'm going to add in a bunch of loop cuts to this and just organize it like that. So we've got a nice modeled prong. Let's bring that back into our model. From the top view, let's come over here, and we want to, oops, we lost our ring. There we go, right there. From the top view, what I want to do is now grab this and make some changes to it. But first we're going to mirror it. We're going to mirror this on the X and Y axis. So I'm going to apply a mirror modifier. I'm going to add in the Y axis. The X is already selected. We're going to go into edit mode, press A to select all. And now when you see when I move this over, you can see it makes 4 copies. And I'm going to put that right about here, just like so. Let's look at this from the side view, and let's bring this down just like that. So far, so good. And now what I need to do is bend this particular model. To do that, what I have to do is actually take this and kind of get it wrapped around the, I have to get the 3D cursor over to the center point. So I'm going to hit Shift S, cursor to selected. Cursor to selected, right there. So you can see it put the cursor right there. Now if I move my mouse right here at the bottom, and I'm going to select this object here. Let's do all, just so we've got all. And I'm going to hit Shift W, and I can bend this out just like so. And what I want to do is bend that in, Shift W, and just kind of bend that out so that it kind of gets in its own way just like that. If I go into object mode, press Tab key, you can see that the angle for which I'm got that bent is wrong, but that's okay because we can do this now. We can go into object mode or edit mode, select all, and then RZ, and I can rotate that to be about like so. Now while that's not perfectly close, it's getting close. So what I want to do now is go back into edit mode or object mode. I'm going to select the diamond in the head. I'm going to bring that up. I'm going to come over here and I'm going to bring these up just a little bit, just like so. And that's giving me something very close. Now you can go ahead and bend these all you want to whatever heart's content you want, adjust the position of that, and get it about wherever you think it needs to be. I'm going to Control Z that. And let's just select the diamond in the circle here. Okay, so far so good. Now I want to do a cutter to this circle here. So I'm going to hit the diamond. I'm going to select cutter on the jewel craft tool, grab that, and I'm going to zoom in and grab this little ring that we added and apply the difference Boolean so that it's been cut out. Now, if I take the diamond and move it out of the way, you can see we've got a nice little cutout for the diamond. I'm going to leave that just like so. And I'm going to grab this little bead that we missed, this little hole we just made, grab these right here. We're going to apply the modifier for those and then do a union. So union just like so. Now those are one piece, and I'm going to grab this head, grab the shank, and we're going to do one more union to that so that it is one piece. So now if I grab the ring and I move it around, you can see it is one piece. So far so good. Okay, we're almost done. This is going to be a rose gold ring. I don't seem to have rose gold in here, but you never know. Gold copper color, let's apply that, see what it looks like. I'm going to come over to the rendered view, and that's giving us kind of a rose gold look. I don't think that looks too bad. I'm going to go to my camera view. We're going to move this over. I'm going to zoom in here. And guys, it's that easy. Let's just render this out. And there's our rose gold ring. It's not a perfect match to the model that we had that was originally sent to us, but darn close. And you can see we've got both the insets and the underside. Doesn't make for a little hollowing out, lighter shank to work with. I've got some work to do here. I want to modify this little piece here to shake it down, but you can see pretty much it looks just about like the customer wanted. That's how I would go ahead and do it. Also consider that you want to keep these as thick as possible, these walls here, because when you're 3D printing them, you want them to come out. I would recommend using either iPhone or blue cast resin to do this, and follow the instructions for casting, because you will have to follow special procedures when 3D printing these in resins that are castable, as well as the proper procedures for burning out the castable resin from your investment. I hope you enjoyed this video, guys. I hope it showed you a little tip and trick how to make this particular ring. And if you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up. And if you are not a subscriber, consider subscribing. I've got one more of these to do for another YouTube viewer who sent me his image of a wedding band, and I will get to that in a couple of days. Thanks for watching, guys, and have a great day.